You work your ass off. You build your life. You buy your dream home. And then one day, you walk outside and there's a letter taped to your door. Not from the city, not from the police. From your HOA. You are no longer permitted to park in your own driveway overnight. Violations will result in fines and possible legal action. Wait, what? My driveway. My home. My car. You stand there holding the paper like it's some kind of sick joke, but it's real, and it's just the beginning. You think it's a mistake. You send an email, you stay calm. They don't care. You go to a meeting, you speak like a reasonable human being. They talk down to you like you're a child who broke the rules at recess. And the worst part, your neighbors just watch. Some nod, some smile. One actually films you from their porch, like you're some criminal being dealt with. That night, you lie in bed staring at the ceiling. You feel this mix of rage, shame, disbelief. You pay your dues. You cut your grass. You follow the rules. But they just made one up. And because they wear little badges and call themselves the board, you're supposed to kneel. No, not me. Not today. Not ever. I didn't ask for this war, but they started it. And if they wanted control, they picked the wrong man. Because what I did next, most people wouldn't believe it. Most people wouldn't dare. They told me I couldn't park in my own driveway. So I bought the road they drive on. Yeah, you heard me. I bought the damn street. Not to punish anyone, not to flex, but to prove something. You don't get to silence people just because you have a title. You don't get to bully your way into obedience. You don't get to steal freedom and call it policy. This story isn't about parking. It's about standing up when the world tells you to sit down. It's about fighting fire with fire and walking away clean. So if you've ever felt controlled, if someone ever tried to put a leash on your life, if you've ever been told, that's just the way it is. You're in the right place. Asterisk, there's a moment you don't forget. It's not big, it's not loud, but it hits you. For me, it was one Tuesday morning. The sun was out, my coffee was still hot. I walked outside, looked at my house, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Pride. Not ego, not show-off pride, but real pride. The kind that says, I built this. I worked double shifts. I missed parties. I went without. So my family could have this a small, quiet piece of the world. We weren't rich, but the driveway was ours. The house was clean, the yard was mowed. My kids played in the sprinkler every weekend. My wife waved to the neighbors every morning. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. And then everything started to unravel. It started with a letter, a bland, cold letter in a plastic sleeve, taped to my door like a warning. At first I thought it was a joke. Dear homeowner, due to updated HOA guidelines overnight, parking in personal driveways is prohibited. I read it twice, 3 times. What kind of logic was this? My driveway? My car? My property? I wasn't blocking traffic, wasn't on the street, wasn't doing burnouts at midnight. I was parked, quietly, peacefully in my own space, but the letter didn't care. The HOA had decided, without notice, without vote, that this was now unacceptable. I laughed at first, thought, this is just some new guy on a power trip. It'll blow over. But it didn't. A week later, another notice. Then came the fines. $25, then $50, then $100. Each time I parked in my own driveway overnight, a camera caught it. Yep. They were watching. Someone. Somewhere in that neighborhood was reporting me. I started to notice things. Side glances, curt nods. Neighbors I used to talk to now avoided eye contact. I saw a guy across the street, someone I'd helped move and take a picture of my car from. Behind his curtains, I wasn't the friendly neighbor anymore. I was the guy breaking the rules. The problem. The target. So I tried to do the right thing. I went to the HOA meeting, sat in a folding chair under buzzing fluorescent lights, and waited my turn. When I spoke, I stayed calm. I asked questions. I used facts. I even smiled. They didn't. They looked at me like I was some bratty kid. Like I didn't understand the community vision. They said it was about aesthetic continuity. Said driveways were for visual flow, not for overnight parking. One guy literally said, we're trying to preserve the image of the neighborhood. Image, as if my car parked neatly on my own driveway was a threat to their sacred little image. And here's the kicker. Not one person in that room spoke up for me. Not one neighbor said, he's a good guy. Not one board member said, let's work something out. Just silence, cold stares, and a smug little woman. Tapping her clipboard like I was wasting her time, I walked out of that room shaking. Not from fear, from something worse. Humiliation? You ever been there? You ever feel small in a place you paid to live? Like you're on trial for existing? Like every ounce of dignity is being squeezed out of you one fine at a time. It's not about parking. They were telling me who I was allowed to be, and I knew right then, this is where I live, this is my ground, and I will not be pushed off it. So I stopped smiling, stopped asking nicely. I stopped playing by the rules. They kept moving. If they wanted a villain, I'd give them one, but not the kind they could silence. Not loud, not reckless, not violent. Calculated, quiet, strategic, and that's when I made the decision that would flip this whole damn game upside down. It didn't happen overnight, but it started that same night. I walked out of the meeting. I opened my laptop, pulled up the county land records, and typed in one question. Who actually owns the road? Because if they were going to weaponize the rules against me, I was going to find something they didn't expect, and oh boy, what I found. It changed everything. Asterisk. I didn't want a war. Let's get that straight. I wanted peace. I wanted quiet. I wanted to come home, park my car, kiss my kids goodnight, and mind my own damn business. But you can only turn the other cheek so many times before it bruises. After that HOA meeting, I went home and stared at the wall, angry. Yeah, but more than that, exhausted from playing fair in a game I didn't sign up for. Exhausted from tiptoeing around people who lived to control others. Still, I tried one more time. I emailed the HOA president personally. His name was Mark, mid-50s, polo shirts. The kind of guy who acts like he invented real estate. I wrote a message that was calm, respectful, and direct. Mark, I'd like to request a meeting to discuss the new driveway rule. I believe there's been a misunderstanding, and I'm hoping we can find a fair compromise. Best, my name, he replied with one sentence. The board has already voted. The rule stands. Number. Explanation, no discussion. No. Thanks for reaching out. Just a digital middle finger dressed in passive professionalism, but it got worse. A week later, I parked my car in the driveway for just 30 minutes just to unload groceries. By the time I got back outside, another fine. This time it was taped to my windshield in bright orange paper, like a parking ticket. In front of my kids, humiliating. I looked around, and I saw them. Two board members across the street, watching, not waving, not talking, just standing there, arms crossed, smiling. I felt my blood boil, but still I didn't snap. I didn't scream. I didn't throw fists or raise my voice. I went back inside, and I started documenting everything. Screenshots, photos, emails, meeting minutes, because now I wasn't just angry. I was building a case. I called the city. One called the county. I asked about zoning, easements, HOA authority, private versus public roads. Most of them passed the buck. But one lady, God bless her, finally gave me what I needed. She said, "That street your house is on? According to records, it's not technically city property, and it's not HOA owned either." I said, "Wait, so who owns it?" She paused, typed something, and said the words that hit me like lightning. It's unclaimed. Technically, it's open for purchase. If someone wanted to file for it, they probably could. I sat in silence, not breathing, not blinking, not even smiling because I couldn't believe it. The HOA had spent months flexing rules on me, threatening me, publicly humiliating me, on a road they didn't even own. They had no idea. They assumed. They postured, but they never did the work. And now, I had a way out. No scratch. That I had a way in. But let me be honest with you. I didn't jump on it right away. For weeks, I second-guessed it. I talked to lawyers. I ran the numbers. It wasn't cheap. It wasn't easy. It wasn't guaranteed. I had to get permits. I had to do surveys. I had to go through back channels, silent offers, quiet signatures. And the whole time, this voice in my head kept whispering, "Are you really doing this? Is it worth it? Maybe you should just move." But that voice, that was the voice of someone. They wanted me to be small, tired, compliant. And I was done being that. Let me tell you something about control. It doesn't start with big rules. It starts with small ones. The color of your curtains, the height of your fence, where your kid's bike is parked. And before you know it, you don't live in a home. You live in a cage you paid for. That's what this was about. It was never just about a driveway. It was about the right to exist without asking permission. And that was worth fighting for. One night, I pulled into my driveway again, knowing full well I'd get another fine. And I didn't care. I sat in my car for a minute, staring at that quiet, empty road. I imagined the board members watching me through their blinds, pen in hand, clipboard ready, and I smiled, because in 27 days, that road would belong to me. They didn't know it yet, but their kingdom was built on land I was about to own. I told no one, not my wife, not my neighbors, not even my closest friends, because when you make a move like this, you do it in silence. You don't brag, you don't threaten, you let the silence build. Let them feel safe. Let them keep writing tickets. Let them sleep in ignorance until one day at the street they rule is yours, and that day, it was coming fast. Asterisk, here's the thing about people who crave control. They never expect you to push back. They expect you to grumble, to complain quietly, to roll over. But me, I pushed hard, quietly, legally, and it all started the night I opened a forgotten part of the internet most people never touch, the county land and records database. It's dry, it's ugly. It looks like a site from 2002, but it holds power most people don't even know exists. I started with my street, typed in the parcel number, cross-referenced it with my address. Then I saw it again. That weird blank spot in ownership, no HOA listed, no city listed, just ... unincorporated. So, I dug deeper. I cross-checked utility maps, zoning overlays, historical development blueprints. Guess what I found? The road was never formally transferred to the HOA after the neighborhood was built. The developer had kept ownership. But when the company went bankrupt years ago, the deed was never reassigned. That meant the road was in legal limbo. No one was paying taxes on it. No one was listed as its caretaker. And no one, not the HOA, not the county, was laying claim to it. It was there, floating, available. But this wasn't a click to purchase kind of deal. I couldn't just throw money at it and walk away with keys to the kingdom. I needed help, so I called a real estate attorney. A quiet, sharp guy named Brian. I'll never forget what he said when I laid it all out. If what you're saying is true, you've got a shot at this. And if you pull it off, you won't just own a piece of land, you'll own leverage. Brian got to work. We filed a quiet title action. It's a legal process to claim abandoned property when no one contests it, but that takes time. So while that clock ticked, I kept my head down, kept parking in my driveway, kept collecting their little orange violations like badges of honor. 3 weeks in, I had to stand before a judge to verify the claim. Simple courtroom, simple case. No one showed up to challenge it because no one even knew I was coming. The judge flipped through my file, stamped the papers, and looked me dead in the eye. Congratulations, you now legally own the road. Just like that. No cheering, no high fives. Just me, holding a piece of paper that said, I own the ground they walk on. Let that sink in. The HOA? Bored. The same people who fined me for parking in front of my own house, they now had to drive on a road I owned. I didn't tell them. Not yet. I let the silence build, because the longer they felt safe, the harder they'd fall. I wanted them to feel in control right up to the moment it vanished. Then came the perfect setup. They sent me one final violation notice. Certified letter, signature required. Claimed I had ignored repeated warnings. They threatened escalation, said legal action was pending, said my continued disregard would no longer be tolerated. I smiled as I signed for it because, attached to their letter, I sent one back. My letter was short, brutal, and legal. To whom it may concern, effective immediately, the street known as road name is now private property under my ownership. Any use of this road, including access by HOA members, board officials, or contractors, is subject to my approval. Please direct all future communication to my attorney. Respectfully, my name, legal owner of street name. I wish I could have seen their faces. Mark with his little clipboard, Susan with her fake smile, the entire board, sitting around their meeting table, reading that letter like it was a bomb about to go off, because it was. They had no clue. They'd spent months flexing imaginary power. Now the real power was in my hands and they couldn't touch it. Within 48 hours, they were silent, tense. Careful, I walked in calm. No anger, no bragging, just truth. You fined me for parking in my driveway? You humiliated me in front of my kids. You told me I didn't belong unless I obeyed rules I never voted on? And all this time, you were standing on land that wasn't even yours. Mark tried to talk, tried to threaten, tried to reclaim authority, but I stopped him with one sentence. Mark, this meeting is taking place on my road. I suggest you watch your tone. That shut him up. I didn't demand anything, didn't raise my voice. I just handed them a proposal. Simple. Terms. No more driveway violations. A formal letter of apology. An amendment to the HOA bylaws clarifying road ownership. In exchange, I'd grant the neighborhood public access, no restrictions. No tolls, no lawsuits, just peace. Because, unlike them, I never wanted control. I wanted respect. And you know what? They signed it. Every board member, even Mark. Because deep down they knew they messed with the wrong homeowner. Asterisk, the deal was done. Signed, sealed, stamped in ink, and etched into the silence of every smug face that had once laughed at me. I walked out of that meeting not with a smirk, but with something better. Peace, power, and my damn driveway back. The next morning was different. I woke up early. made coffee, slid open the blinds and looked out at my road. Not the street, mine. And you know what I saw? Mark, the HOA president, walking his dog. He looked up, saw me, then looked down fast like a student caught cheating. Yeah, he knew. I stepped outside, walked down the driveway, parked my car right there in the same exact spot they'd find me for, over and over. No warning, no orange paper. No concerned neighbor with a camera, just silence. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't a stunt. It was freedom. And they couldn't touch it. You don't know how heavy control is until it's lifted. You don't realize how much you were shrinking until you finally stretch out and feel your full height. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like a prisoner in my own neighborhood. I felt like the owner of my space, the keeper of my ground, the man who said enough. And here's what people don't expect. I didn't gate off the road, didn't restrict traffic, didn't make anyone pay, didn't flex it. Why? Because I didn't want their fear. I wanted my peace. A week later, an email landed in my inbox, not from the HOA board, from a neighbor, one of the ones who used to look the other way when the letters were taped to my door. She said, "Hey, I just wanted to say, we saw what you did, and we respect it. A lot of us were scared to speak up, but you changed something. Thank you." That one message meant more than 100 apologies from the board because it proved one thing. This wasn't just about me. I didn't just win a legal battle. I set a new tone. The board meetings started changing. People spoke up more. The fear melted. The HOA started acting like they worked for the community, not like they ruled over it. Because when someone takes the leash off, others remember they were never meant to wear one. I got calls from people in other neighborhoods, messages, even a few lawyers. "Hey, can we talk about how you did that?" Turns out this wasn't a one-off. This was a blueprint. And suddenly, my little rebellion, it was turning into a roadmap for people everywhere. Let me tell you something straight. You don't need to own a road to reclaim your power. You just need to stop handing it away every time you stay quiet when something feels wrong. Every time you nod along just to avoid conflict. Every time you say, "That's just how it is," you shrink. You disappear. You become what they want manageable. But the moment you say, "No, that's enough," that's the moment everything changes. I didn't do this to hurt anyone. I did this to show people what's possible when you stop waiting for permission. They said I couldn't park in my own driveway, so I bought the road. But the truth is, what I really bought was my freedom. Asterisk control is loud. It speaks in threats, in warnings, in fines and forms and faces that smile while they hold the knife. But real power is quiet. It doesn't need a microphone. It doesn't demand respect. It just is. And once the deed was mine once, my name sat on that county record, owning every foot of pavement that ran through our little neighborhood. That's exactly how I moved. Quiet, calm, clear. Because power flips the second you stop asking. The HOA. They didn't crumble. They didn't vanish. But they changed fast. The fines stopped. The threats ended. The gossip died. It was like someone had unplugged the fear machine. Suddenly, they weren't confident anymore. Weren't bold. They sat at meetings like deer in headlights. Because now they knew they weren't untouchable. And guess what? I didn't throw it in their faces. I didn't walk around wearing a crown. I didn't strut through the neighborhood yelling, "I own this street." Because that's what they would have done. Instead, did what they never could. I listened, I learned. I led. See, there's a difference between control and leadership. Control is fear. Leadership is strength. Control wants silence. Leadership wants voices. Control thrives on obedience. Leadership rises on trust. I started showing up to HOA meetings again. Not to fight, to speak. To suggest, to remind everyone, this community belongs to all of us. Not just the people with the clipboards. And little by little, the neighborhood started breathing again. People who'd been silent for years started raising their hands, asking questions, sharing ideas. We stopped talking about what we couldn't do and started building what we could. New guidelines, new votes, new transparency. The board stopped acting like rulers and started acting like neighbors. I didn't need revenge. I didn't want war. And I got it not by shouting louder, but by standing my ground, eyes forward, heart open. Here's the part no one sees. After everything, after the fight, the ownership, the shift, I still walk that street every day. Same road, same quiet houses, same people mowing their lawns and walking their dogs. But now, it feels different. It's not just mine on paper. It's mine in spirit because I earned it and because no one gets to decide how free you are unless you let them. So if you're watching this, if you've ever felt trapped by people who think they know better, if you've ever been pushed around by small minds in shiny suits with fake power, let this be your wake-up call. You're not weak, you're not stuck, and you're not alone. You don't have to buy a road, but you do have to take a stand. Even if your hands shake, even if your voice breaks, even if you lose a few battles on the way, take the damn stand, because that's the moment power flips. And once it flips, they can't unflip it. You become the storm they swore would never come. You become the voice they tried to silence. You become the owner of your life, just like I did, and they'll never see you coming. Asterisk this story. It started with a parking space, but let's be honest, it was never about the car, never about the driveway, never about some rule on a piece of paper. It was about something way bigger. It was about control, the quiet kind, the kind that seeps into your life like smoke under a door. It tells you how to talk, how to live, where to stand, when to sit. It wraps itself in community, in order, in rules for everyone's good. But in the end, it only serves one thing: fear. I didn't fight this battle to win a legal case. I fought because I saw what happens when no one pushes back. When people stop believing they have a voice, when neighbors turn into spies, and leaders become tyrants with nice smiles. And if I didn't do something, who would? They say pick your battles, but sometimes the battle picks you. And when it does, you've got two choices: bow or build. I chose to build. Brick by brick, word by word, move by move. I built the case, filed the papers, took the hits, sat through the silence, and when the moment came, I didn't roar, I didn't rage, I just stood. And that was enough, you see. The world doesn't change when you scream at it. It changes when you stop waiting to be given permission to be who you already are. The quiet man who stood up in a room full of bullies. That man wasn't a hero. He was just done. Done being stepped on, done being silenced, done being treated like a problem in the place he called home. I bought the road, but what I really bought was the right to breathe again, to walk outside. And no, I'm not asking. I'm living, and maybe this hits home for you. Maybe your driveway isn't a driveway. Maybe it's a job, a relationship, a rule, a person, someone or something telling you how small you're allowed to be, telling you what box you belong in, what life you're lucky to have. I'm here to tell you, you can break the box, burn it, bury it. You can take the shot, they said. Was impossible. And win, so no. This was never about parking. This was about freedom, about standing tall in a world that wants you to shrink, about proving once and for all that you don't need to be loud to be powerful. You just need to stop saying yes when your soul is screaming no. I don't want applause. I don't want followers. I want you to look at your life and ask the only question that matters. What have I been putting up with that I never should have accepted in the first place? Answer that, and everything changes, because this wasn't just my fight, it's yours. It's everyone's. We're all standing on roads someone else claims to own, until we decide, actually, this is mine now. If this story hits something deep inside you, if you've ever felt small in the place you're supposed to feel safe, if you've ever been told to sit down, shut up, or fall in line, this is your sign. It's time to stand, time to rise, time to own what they said you couldn't. Asterisk, don't just watch, subscribe, because we're building a tribe of people who don't back down, people who turn pain into power, people who buy the damn road and never look